Welcome, listener. This is Sebastian Nothwell, joined today by Tess Carletta to discuss her cozy contribution to our queer tarot anthology, An Outstretched Hand. Hello, Tess.
Hi.
Each of our stories was inspired by one of the major arcana cards, which we chose, or perhaps permitted the cards to choose for us, by pulling them at random. So, Tess, what did you think when you drew your card, the Star?
I was really relieved because as a symbol and as an icon throughout history and throughout storytelling itself, the star is a very memorable and iconic symbol that we're accustomed to. I wasn't sure exactly if I wanted to take it more literally or if I wanted to be really symbolic because stars do have so much symbolism. And I ended up taking what could possibly be the most literal interpretation of the card.
It's also a very versatile symbol.
Exactly. I think that's what I'm trying to get at.
So in your story, the star, you have Clara, the star keeper, who is tasked in her star lighthouse with keeping the constellations in order. And whenever a star gets out of place in a constellation, the fortunes of the townsfolk take a terrible turn. So it is her responsibility to keep everyone's stars aligned, as it were, so their fortunes may continue to be bright. And then you also have Adrian, a boy next door, which makes for a lovely little friends to lovers cozy fantasy, very whimsical, reminiscent of Kiki's Delivery Service or Cardcaptor Sakura. And then we get into the Hurt Comfort, and then, I'm not going to spoil it for everybody, but we get a deeply satisfying, well-foreshadowed twist right towards the end there. But as the person who wrote the Ding Dang thing, what is your favorite part about your story?
There's a part right in the middle where Clara finds out that she is somehow the cause of whatever is making the stars disalign. And it pushes her into this weird, not telling anyone what's wrong, and also this weird kind of depressive episode. And that might sound kind of strange of like, why is that your favorite part? But I think the story talks a lot about burnout. And burnout has been, unfortunately, my best friend on my shoulder this entire year. So it was kind of in my mind. And I think that it just was really cathartic for me to write. Maybe not my exact experience with burnout, but definitely an experience that somewhat reflected what I was going through of like finding out that you can burn out and you can have this really tough period and still kind of emerge through at the end.
It was a moment that I think will make a lot of readers feel seen.
I hope so.
In a similar vein, what do you hope your readers take away from your story?
I hope that readers take away that sometimes our burnout is multifaceted and much more complicated than we think it is. And that our responsibilities and the things that we owe other people and the way that we treat ourselves is much more complicated as well. And it's not this black and white thing where you sign up to do it, you learn how to do it, and then you do it, and it's perfect every single time.
Truly, though.
I think Clara, she goes through her training as the Star Keeper. And she expects things to go a certain way because she has taken the time and put in the practice and done everything she can to be the best star keeper that could possibly exist. There's even a part in the story where Adrian tells her you're doing better than my mom did. How much better can you possibly get? How much more can you give? You're already the best at this that ever has been. And she's like, I just have to keep doing more and more and more. And I think there's a lot in there about priorities. I guess what I'm trying to get at is the story is just talking about how complex these things are, that you can still be burnt out and giving too much of yourself while still making some correct choices, that not everything that you do is wrong just because you've burnt out. I think to wrap all this up in a nice bow, I hope that readers are kind to themselves when they figure out how to exist as whoever they need to be in the world, whether that's a creative or a parent or someone that has to just give 110% sometimes, how to be kind to yourself while you figure out where the sweet spot is between doing your very best and not absolutely burying yourself into the ground under pressure and burnout.
And perhaps even recognizing that working to the point that you do burn out is not necessarily synonymous with doing one's very best.
Ooh!
That part of doing one's very best.
Uh-oh.
does include some element of personal care and maintaining the machine, as it were, and not just driving around on empty until the whole car gives out.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't think I was going to be able to participate in this anthology. There were several points where I thought I was going to have to back out and just be like, I will do whatever you need me to do to help, but I cannot write for this anthology right now. And I think the story ended up being exactly what it needed to be for me in this moment. And I think that ended up working out with the card that I pulled, because the star, when you pull it and it's upright, because of course all the tarot cards change meanings depending on the direction they are when you pull them, but the star brings hope, renewed power, and strength to carry on with life. This description comes from a website called Labyrinthos, and the article is written by Tina Gong. Kind of helped inform my interpretation of the card. It says it shows how abundantly blessed you are by the universe as evidenced by the various things around you. It may not be directly evident at the moment, but you hold within you all that you need for your fulfillment. And I think that the card is a good reminder that you don't have to prove yourself to be strong and powerful and live a fulfilled life, that all that is already inside of you. So if you give as much as you can, that's already going to be enough.
Absolutely. So what inspired you beyond the card itself to build a world where stars are so intimately and individually tied to people's destinies and are kept in place by star keepers?
So as I mentioned before, I was feeling the burnout pretty badly when I wrote this, and I was not feeling creative at all. And so what I tend to do when that happens is I go onto a website, and usually it's Pinterest because they haven't figured out a better alternative yet. And one of the pins that I saw was actually just a photograph of a lighthouse on a cliffside, and I was thinking about ways that the lighthouse could be related to the stars, and then my brain was like, the light moves the stars around. And I started to think about ways that we can change the way that lighthouses are usually perceived. So usually lighthouses are on a cliffside or right in the water, and they guide ships back to their home. And I thought about what a lighthouse would look like if it was just surrounded by a bunch of open land and grass, with someone being able to see like a village when they stand on the top and see the like the villagers that they're protecting.
It makes for a setting where a lighthouse keeper is considerably less isolated than they are classically, and yet somehow Clara finds a way to isolate herself even in the midst of a lighthouse in the middle of town.
Yeah, exactly. Where Adrian can be like, come into town. It's a quick walk. You'll be back before you know it. And she's like, I just can't. But the more that I started thinking about the ways that things could be affected by the stars.
It's also a fun intersection between the histories of lighthouses and observatories, where one is obviously emitting light and the other one is taking in and observing light. But they're both using very similar glass technology and refracting and bending and magnifying the power of light so it can be visible for longer distances.
And see, because you're so much smarter than me in these things, you make that connection. I think I subconsciously made the connection between those things.
You did! You give yourself some credit. You made the connection. I just read the ding-dang story.
I mean, because it makes a ton of sense when you say it like that. I'm like, yeah, because I do love observatories, and it makes sense to, like, look up into the stars. And I had a chance to walk up into a lighthouse within the last year because a very good friend of mine is the manager of our local historic lighthouse. And so she brought me all the way up the scary winding stairs to the gallery where the top of the lighthouse is. And if you think you're not afraid of heights, just stand on top of a lighthouse and look out over the water, and then you will be confronted with a fear of the ground. But it's also so vast and beautiful, and I think that experience also was a very subconsciously inspiring event for the story, because I knew what it was like to walk around on a little metal platform and to be inside kind of the intimate parts of the lighthouse, as it were. Which sounds dirty when you say it like that, but it's just really nice to experience firsthand.
I was just thinking about how little your story has in common with the A24 film The Lighthouse. But when you mention the intimate parts of a lighthouse, I think we have in fact found a connecting thread.
Is that Robert Pattinson movie?
It is! Edward Cullen himself!
I've seen clips of that and been like, oh, I'm good. Sorry, Edward.
Listen, I appreciate the return to form in the art of lighting in cinema, and I think a film centered on a lighthouse was the perfect story to make full use of that medium in our 21st century. But, more pertinently, The Star by Tess Carletta, featuring the Star Keeper in her very own lighthouse.
It's much cozier than that movie.
Significantly cozier, and I, for one, am very excited for everyone to finally read it.
Oh, thank you. I'm excited for everyone to read your story and everyone else's stories, and I think they should get the anthology.
And the anthology An Outstretched Hand releases November 11th, and you can pre-order wherever you find your favorite books. And stay tuned for more sneak peeks into the anthology on Right Here, Right Queer.
Woohoo!